and welcome to another review here at Frontline Model Hobbies. I'm doing this one to the box instead of to my face at the beginning because I've got a cold and you don't want to see that. But anyway, as you've seen, we've got the Mi-17 hip by AMK in 48th. Brand spanking new tool, so we've been waiting for this one for quite a while. But let's face it, it's here now and it looks awesome because I've looked in the box. Ooh. But anyway, so nice attractive box art. Normally you put some military stuff on there and I'm not quite sure if they're military or not, but either way, I like with all the mountings on there, it looks cool. So without messing about any longer, let's have a look inside the box. So anyway, by the looks of it, you get all the sprues individually packed with the exception of, obviously, you've got duplicates there and there. Maybe you've got the clear sprue there. You've got your weapons in there, which I'll have a look in a minute. Obviously, you get one big Mahusi sprue times 2. You've got your blades and then your obligatory instructions. You get some photo etched and you've got your decals. So bear with me 2 seconds and I'll show you the instructions. Right, so we'll start off with the instructions as I said earlier. Straight over the page, you've got a bit of blurb there about the helicopter itself, stuff in Chinese, which is the copy. And then you've got the 3 schemes there, which you've got a North Macedonian and you've got 2 Czech ones from different eras. So you've got the early one and you've got the later version. Anyway, the call outs for accuracy range, so if you like that, but you've got the FS numbers so you can convert it if needs be. It is a bit back to front because obviously you normally get the call outs and the paint guides at the end, but this one's at the front, so you've probably got some inspiration as you're looking through this first before you actually get to the build. You also got the blades as well, and you've got the cockpit and the rocket pods, the colour call outs there, but it's going to be that sort of weird cockpit green, but you need to look at your references. But anyway, so straight on, you've obviously starting off with the cockpit. To be fair, Mi-17s, there's not a lot going on, not a shit ton of wiring or anything like that, but either way, and then you put in the rear cab together, putting all a few bits and bobs in there. Again, you're putting on the other side, and then you're making this usual thing that you do with helicopters, this box section, which will fit into the fuselage like so. Not forgetting to put your windows in first before you put it all together. I've done that before and gone, oh shit. But anyway, moving on, you're putting the engines together. You don't get full engine detail, but what you do is you get the actual exhaust stubs. So yeah, this one piece top cowling part is quite cool. And then you've got all the front air intake system going on there. And then you're putting all the little handles and grab handles and stuff like that on the back. Putting the rear doors together, which does look quite detailed, to be honest with you, so it'd be nice to have that open. Sometimes you look at the detail and you think, I'm not having those doors open. But this one actually looks pretty good. Putting the bottom half together and the side pods. Again, putting some more details on there. Putting all the wheels together, step 14. Then you put in the rear tail rotor together. I'd leave that off right until you've finished the build and the painting and all that. One thing I do like, unlike the 35th Trumpeter one, you do get all the rockets and all the weapon pylon and all this annular. I've had to buy that resin and to be fair, it's alright, but it's crap. Again, putting all the rockets together, which are kind of naff all amount of pieces, and then putting them on. And then you're putting all the rotor hub together, and then putting the prop on. Putting your rotor hub on and your blades on. And then, one thing I do like is that you can chop all these pieces off, which you've got a seam line running down there, so you'll have to clean it up, but you have got resin, photo etch parts that replace that. So yeah, and at the back, you've got your sprue call-outs, which normally would be at the front, but either way, that is the instructions. Right, so now onto the decals themselves, and to be fair, they look very nice indeed, looking registered, to be honest with you. As you can see from the check markings there, some nice colour in there, look very, very nice, to be honest with you. Macedonian flag. You've got two versions, you've got the early and the late. And one thing to note is you've got all the instrument dials there, so you don't really need to paint anything, you can just use them, which is pretty nice. Slightly out of register there, what you can see on those, and I'm shaking like a leaf, I don't know why. But either way, the designed by Decals Studios, so they're not cartograph. They're thin, don't get me wrong, but they're not thick either. They're about in between. They're not quite like Tamiya decals anyway, so they should go down very nicely. So nice job on the decals themselves. So yeah, like them. Okay, so just before we go on to the actual sprues themselves, you obviously got your photo etched here. It does remind me of early trumpeter stuff. It is quite thick, and you have got this sort of plastic that goes on the front and back just to protect it for whatever reason. But either way, it is nice to have all these included. Obviously, like I said earlier, this is all going to be erased, so this is detail you can put on afterwards. Again, you can anneal these so that they'll bend a lot easier. And also one thing is that you don't get any seat belts. Whether if you get them on the actual seats themselves and they're moulded in, that is to be seen. But either way, that is the PE parts. Not too bad really, to be honest with you. Anyway, so we'll start off with Sprue A, shall we? And as you can see for yourself, you've got the fuselage main halves, you've got the rear floor, you've got the tail rotor, you've got the side pods, you've got the instrument panels there, and you've got some sort of door. I think it's for that anyway. But you've got everything all on sprue, which is quite cool. One thing to note is I did notice that there's some quite, I won't say it's bad, I've seen worse, but you can see in the light there, the surface texture is quite bad. Whether the actual real helicopters are like this, I'm not quite sure. But either way, it goes all the way down. Well, the other thing to note is that the actual where the pods go is smoother than that actual surface texture. But again, I think it should be all right under a primer coat, so you should be fine with that. It's not a major amount of rivets, so again, I'm not quite sure, but I'm thinking it's Russian, so it will have shit ton of rivets everywhere. And the photo etched is to replace these lumps on here, so as you can see, you would actually obliterate them going the way down. And you've got some nice raised detail there, but not so nice on this side. So I don't know if it's supposed to copy that side, but this side doesn't look too good. This side looks a lot crisper, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The floor's really nice. Again, you've got some raised detail there, so looks pretty good. And you've got strap detail there on the tanks, which look awesome on both of them. So yeah, really liking how that's gone down. And to be fair, if you look at Mi-17s, the instrument panels do look like that. They are absolutely pants. So there's nothing really major. It just looks like it's cut out of a cardboard box, to be honest with you. But either way, on the back side, nothing really to talk about. Not quite sure if these ejection pin marks will be seen, because they're the back of the instrument panels and you will see through the canopy. But to be fair, I think a cover goes on them, so it should be fine. So yeah, that is Sprue A. Okay, so moving swiftly on now to Sprue B, and as you can see, you've got all the internal parts for the rear cabin, clamshell doors and everything, the engines and everything in between. So the actual detail, whether it's the same as what it would be on a Mi-17, I'm not quite sure, but it does look quite nice out the box. The plastic is smoother than what it is on the outside, with the exception until you get to the cockpit floor. And as you can see, it is a bit gnarly. So whether this is some sort of anti-slip coating, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, still looks quite nice. And then your rear cabin roof, again, with the doors open, it will look quite cool when that's all weathered up. Moving on to the actual clamshell doors, they're not riveted, but again, you might want to rivet them or just leave them as it is, not too bad. And then you've got some piping and some wiring on there for the rear door. Engines don't look too bad, but to be fair, you're not going to see them anyway. This rail system looks pretty nice out of the box, but you have got some slight bit of burring on the end, so you might want to clean that up. But yeah, not too bad. On the reverse side, again, you've got some ejection pin marks in the rear door, so you would be wanting to clean them out. But again, the detail looks pretty nice out of the box, and to be honest with you, looks the same as what I've seen from pictures. And again, talking about ejection pin marks, you've got it on those launch rails, so you might want to sort of clean them up and sand them down, or they might be on there, I'm not quite sure. but either way, doesn't look too bad. These parts here look pretty nice, as you can see, some nice raised detail, and there's no injection pin marks on either side, so that is one nice sprue. Next up is Sprue C, as you can see there, and as you can see, it's all one piece, which is very nice. Nice slip moulding. You have got a seam line on both sides, on there and there, so a quick clean up shouldn't be a problem. But again, the details are very nice. Nice raised and recessed, as you can see all the way through. Nice grills there and nice exhaust drilled out there. So very nice indeed. It is quite thick plastic, so to cut it out might be a problem, so I won't want to do that. So yeah. Now onto the last of the major sprues. This is the last largest sprue in the box, Sprue D. And as you can see, you've got all your little lumps and bumps on there, and you've got your main rotor hub, which we'll have a look in a second. But I'm sort of not going to gloss over everything, but you can pause this at your own leisure. But as you can see, all the details are there. The sprue gates themselves, in some cases, there's only one. Nice inclusion of the circuit breakers there, will look awesome when painted, or you put the decals on. Instrument panel there, another one. And again, all the details look very, very nice. And then moving on to that beautiful rotor hub that looks awesome. And there's no injection pin marks on the top of that because they're all on the back side. So where the actual blades are going to glue on, you're never going to see anything, to be honest with you. So that is absolutely amazing. Be nice to wire that up. So yeah, either way, that is a nice sprue on both sides. The only downside for mine is it's slightly warped, but I don't think the actual parts are warped, but the sprue is slightly warped. But either way, so that is Sprue D. Next up, you've got Sprue F, and you've got ×2, so we'll only look at one of them. And yeah, this obviously, you've got your seats in there and everything else. This is the front of the engines. So yeah, nothing really major to talk about on that. You've got a bit of flash on there, but yeah, it's not too bad, to be honest with you. You could probably replace these with wire if you so wish, but it's all there if you need to. So that is Sprue F. Next up, we've got Sprue G, and as you can see, we've got ×2, so we'll just take a look at one of them again. Major highlights, you've got separate tyres to the wheel hubs, so it'll be a lot easier to paint anyway. You've got no weight on wheels, which is boo-hoo, but either way, not a major problem. You've got no seat belts again, so you can probably fashion your own. But the only downside to the actual sprue is you've got some sink marks to the actual weapon pylons themselves on both sides. And on the other side, you've got the actual compressor fan or whatever it is for the engine itself. So yeah, not a bad sprue, to be honest with you. Pretty cool. Okay, so last before we get onto the clear parts is Sprue H, and as you can see, you've got ×5 of the main rotor blades, and I think you've got a bit of droop there, sir. But anyway, we'll just take a look at one of them for a closer look. And as you can see, the actual raised detail is very nice, going all the way down. Very, 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 very nice, to be honest with you. Very even as well. Got a bit of flash at the bottom, which is, I think, on all of them, but quick clean up and you should be fine. And it is the same on the other side, so not a problem on that whatsoever. Okay, so next up is the weapons, and if you've got the AMK weapon set, I think it's weapon set 1, you'd be quite familiar with the setup, and it is a quite novel way of doing this, to be honest with you. But anyway, you've got 6 here, so we'll take a look at one of them. And as you can see, there is only 4 parts to this rocket pod. Again, like the top fuselage half section, whatever you want to call it, you've got some seam lines there that you'd have to clean up. But to be fair, these two you don't. That's why they've moulded them that way. The actual rockets in there are not actually in there, so I'm wondering if they push further down into the actual rocket system itself. But either way, it does look very, very cool out of the box. And like I said, very, very easy to put all these together. So like I said, you've got 6 of them, so very nice indeed. Thank you, AMK. Okay, so last but not least, as you can see here, you've got the clear sprue, and there's nothing really major to talk about on this one, well, with the exception of the top anyway. So you've got all these side porthole windows, and yeah, they've got some sort of magnification on there, but to be fair, they've got sort of the more concave, so it's very hard not to do that. And the same with the major side windows for the cockpit. You have got some sort of scratching from the bagging, but a quick swipe with a polishing stick and you should be fine. Again, with the front main canopy, it's all one piece, which is cool, but again, I've got a bit of a scrape or a scratch on there on the front bit. But again, this is Russian stuff, so it's a bit crap, and you have got a bit of rippling in there, which you might be able to see throughout. So yeah, but either way, I'm going to leave it as is because these are hammered anyway. But either way, that is the clear sprue. Doesn't look too bad. And there we have it. That is the review for AMK's Mi-17 hip in 1/48 scale. Now, let's face it, this is now the definitive, the best 17 in 48 scale. Nobody's better than this. This is the one to go to, irregardless of what you might say. Whether you might say the shape or wherever you're listening, this is the best one. Now, yeah, let's gloss over the fact that there's, you know, surface texture and that going all the way down. Primer coat should get rid of that. And the fact that I say about seatbelts nearly every time about on every review, but it's just the fact that if they're doing seatbelts, then might as well put them in. But either way. Also, you might have seen that the actual markings, there's no Russian and no Ukrainian, so they've kept everybody happy and not put either in. But you can get aftermarket decals, I am sure, that would probably fit this, that are probably made for other kits or wherever. But either way, details outside, inside the box and what have you are perfect for what you need. It's perfect for beginners, and also it's perfect for anybody that wants to do some extra details. So it ticks every box, to be honest with you, on that scale. Either way, so we have got this one as a pre-order still for 49 quid. So if you want one, just give us a shout. But anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Cheerio.